You are a good man. You are fair, accommodating, and you treat people with a baseline of decency and respect. You lend your time and energy to those who ask. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt. You operate under a principle of generosity, assuming it will be recognized, appreciated, and perhaps one day reciprocated. And yet, you are not respected. You are not valued. You are utilized. Your boundaries are treated as mere suggestions. Your time is considered infinitely available. Your generosity is not seen as a gift, but as an expectation. You are the reliable one, the agreeable one, the one who smooths things over. You are the foundation that everyone stands on and no one ever looks at. This paradox, the ruin of the good man, is not a modern phenomenon. It is an ancient feature of power dynamics, diagnosed with chilling precision 500 years ago by Machiavelli. To understand why your goodness leads to ruin, we must look at the world through his cold, analytical eyes. Machiavelli wrote that a man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in all things must necessarily come to ruin among so many who are not good. This is not an endorsement of evil. It is a statement of fact. It is a warning. He forces us to confront two concepts that the modern world misunderstands: generosity, which he calls liberality, and cruelty. You believe generosity is a simple virtue. Machiavelli saw it as a strategic trap. You believe cruelty is a simple vice. Machiavelli saw it as a necessary, surgical tool. Your failure to understand the strategic application of these forces is the direct cause of your frustration. To reclaim your power, you must first understand the brutal economy of generosity. Machiavelli gives the example of a prince. To be considered generous, a prince must be lavish, throwing festivals, handing out gifts, and spending extravagantly. This will make him popular for a short time, but this lifestyle is unsustainable. Soon, his treasury will run dry. To continue his performance of generosity, he will be forced to heavily tax his people. The people who once praised him now begin to hate him for taking their money. If, on the other hand, he stops his lavish spending to save the state from bankruptcy, the people will immediately brand him a miser, a stingy, greedy ruler. It is a perfect trap. The path of generosity, once started, leads either to being hated or to being despised. There is no exit. Now, consider your own life. Your resources are not gold coins, but your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your emotional labor. But very quickly, your generosity becomes your identity. It becomes your role. It is no longer a gift, but a tax others levy on you. The moment you say no, the moment you stop the flow of your resources. To protect yourself, you are not met with understanding. You are met with resentment. You are called selfish. You have violated the unspoken contract that you yourself foolishly wrote. By being endlessly generous, you taught people that your resources have no value. You taught them that you are a public utility, not a sovereign individual. This is the first secret. Unconditional generosity does not build respect. It builds entitlement in others and resentment in you. It is the path to ruin. This leads us to the most misunderstood Machiavellian concept, the virtue of cruelty. When you hear the word, you imagine tyranny and sadism. This is a profound misunderstanding. Machiavelli makes a critical distinction. There is cruelty well used and cruelty poorly used. To illustrate well-used cruelty, he points to the actions of Cesare Borgia, a man he deeply admired for his effectiveness. Borgia had conquered the province of Rimini, which was rife with crime, corruption, and disorder. To pacify it, he sent in his lieutenant, a man named Ramiro de Orco, who was known to be swift and ruthless. De Orco quickly established order through a series of harsh, violent, and cruel actions. He succeeded. The region was tamed. But Borgia knew that while this cruelty was necessary, it had also generated hatred among the people. So, once the job was done, Borgia did something shocking. He had Ramiro de Orco arrested, and in a public square had him cut in two. With this one single, gruesome act, Borgia achieved two things simultaneously. He satisfied the people's hatred for the man who had been cruel to them. The people were left, in Machiavelli's words, both satisfied and stupefied. This is well-used cruelty. It is swift, decisive, and targeted. It solves a problem permanently and establishes a new foundation of order and respect. It is a surgical strike, not a war of attrition. Now consider poorly used cruelty. This, Machiavelli says, is when a leader is timid. He makes small, hesitant punishments that don't solve the problem but create endless resentment. It is the manager who disciplines an employee with a series of passive-aggressive emails instead of one firm, private conversation. It is the parent who makes a dozen empty threats instead of enforcing one clear consequence. This brings us to the modern good man. The nice guy is the master of poorly used cruelty, primarily directed at himself and his own interests. By refusing to perform one single cruel act, he invites 1,000 small injuries. The refusal to fire a toxic but well-liked employee is not kindness. It is a slow cruelty that poisons the entire team. The refusal to end a relationship that is clearly failing is not kindness. It is a slow cruelty that wastes two people's lives in a state of quiet desperation. The refusal to set a hard boundary with a friend who constantly takes advantage is not kindness. It is a slow cruelty that allows resentment to fester and destroy the friendship from within. Your avoidance of a single, decisive, and necessary cruel act is what is ruining you. You think you are choosing peace, but you are actually choosing a state of perpetual, low-grade warfare against your own well-being. You have been living your life as if it will be judged by your intentions. You think to yourself, my intentions are good. I want to be kind. I want to be fair. You believe this is enough. This is a fatal delusion. The brutal truth is that the world does not run on good intentions. It runs on consequences. Your private moral convictions are strategically worthless if they consistently produce bad outcomes for you. The refusal to be severe when severity is required is not a virtue. It is a profound strategic vice. It is an act of negligence. It is an open invitation for chaos to enter your life and for others to seize your power. Your kindness is perceived as weakness because, from a functional and strategic perspective, it is weakness. It signals to the world that you are unwilling to inflict short-term discomfort in yourself or others to protect your long-term interests. It signals that you fear confrontation more than you value respect. And in the cold calculus of power, a man who is unwilling to be momentarily cruel to defend his position is a man who is destined to have no position to defend. So what is the solution? Are you to become a tyrant in your own life, a monster to your friends and family? No. The solution is not to embrace evil, but to embrace reality. The solution is an intellectual tool. We will call it the calculus of severity. This is not a license for random cruelty. It is a disciplined mental model for strategic decision-making. From now on, when faced with a situation that requires a hard choice, you do not ask, "What is the kindest thing to do?" You ask, "What action, however unpleasant in the moment, will produce the most stable, respected, and beneficial long-term outcome?" You weigh the sharp, immediate pain of a well-used cruelty against the slow, cancerous decay of poorly used kindness. Let's analyze this. Firing the underperforming employee is a cruel act. It causes immediate pain to that person. But the alternative, keeping them on, is a slow cruelty to the rest of your team, to the company's health, and ultimately to the employee himself, who is trapped in a role where he cannot succeed. The calculus of severity shows that the single, decisive act is, in the long run, the more effective and even more merciful path. Ending the bad relationship is cruel. It causes immediate heartbreak. But the alternative, letting it fester for years, is a prolonged torture that steals the most precious resource you both have, time. The calculus of severity demands the clean break. This mental model gives you cognitive dominance. It frees you from the trap of your own good intentions. It allows you to distinguish between genuine kindness and self-destructive appeasement. You are no longer a good man who is being ruined. You are a strategic man who is choosing effectiveness. The goal is not to enjoy cruelty. The goal is to become willing to wield severity as a surgeon wields a scalpel, with precision, with reluctance, and only when absolutely necessary to remove a cancer. True power and respect do not come from being unconditionally liked. They come from the quiet, implicit understanding that you are willing and able to make difficult decisions to protect order, to defend your boundaries, and to secure your interests. People do not respect the sheep who is kind to the wolf. They respect the shepherd who is willing to kill the wolf to protect the flock. Sometimes that flock is your company. Sometimes it is your family. And very often that flock is simply your own sanity and self-respect. Stop valuing the performance of kindness over the production of results. Stop confusing agreeableness with goodness. Embrace the difficult truth that a single, well-placed act of severity is often more virtuous than 1,000 acts of weak generosity. That is the secret to escaping the good man's ruin. You do not need to become a bad man. You simply need to stop allowing your goodness to be the instrument of your own destruction. Learn to calculate the cost of inaction. Learn to see the cruelty in being too kind. And learn that sometimes the most respectable thing a man can be is severe. The world doesn't reward your intentions. It rewards your strength. Your strength is not measured by how much you can endure. It is measured by what you are willing to decisively cut away. Master the calculus of severity, and you will trade the ruin of the good man for the respect of the effective one.